Joining us now, Senator Ron Johnson from Senate Homeland Security. Great to see you, Senator. So this is a much-needed course correction to the race. What do you think of President Trump here? You know, Kamala Harris still not talking to the press for 3 weeks now, and we got breaking news out of Politico. People close to her say she will not talk to the press, not going to talk to them through Labor Day.
Well, President Trump has always made himself very accessible to the press. He's willing to answer questions. He's able to answer questions. And I think the American public needs to really think twice about why Kamala Harris is not willing to sit down and even answer one question after 18 days being crowned their nominee without a single vote being cast for her. I mean, this is the ultimate backroom deal. And the most radically left presidential and vice presidential ticket in American history. It's like I said, it literally is just an in-your-face selection to pick Governor Tim Walz, who's a radical leftist himself. There's a reason they call him Tampon Tim. It's embarrassing to talk about, but the fact that he would promote and sign a bill that forced schools to install feminine hygiene products in boys' bathrooms. I mean, that's just bizarre, and they're calling J.D. Vance weird. Again, the world is topsy-turvy, and unfortunately, and this is very unfortunate, most of the people in the mainstream media will give her a pass. They will cover up her past, cover up Governor Walz's past, his stolen valor. They're not going to talk about it. They'll do everything they can to make sure that these two win the election without the American public being informed.
And without the American public, like Democrat primary voters, having a say. I mean, what we're seeing, Trump is campaigning on making America safe, secure, and prosperous. He's talking jobs, tax cuts, deregulation. Kamala Harris wants to raise everybody's taxes. That'll crush the U.S. into a depression. Again, Jimmy Carter did not run on that. Plus, she'll ruin U.S. energy. And Trump warned all those really heavy electric trucks and cars that Kamala Harris wants will destroy America's bridges and roads that they're spending billions of our tax money to fix. Watch more from President Trump.
The presidency was taken away from Joe Biden. And I'm no Biden fan, but I'll tell you what, from a constitutional standpoint, from any standpoint you look at, they took the presidency away. We have a very, very sick country right now. You saw the other day with the stock market crashing. That was just the beginning. That was just the beginning. It's going to get worse. So I'm going to give them security, safety, and jobs. I'm going to give them a good economy. We have a very bad economy right now. We could literally be on the throes of a depression. And if the Democrats don't renew them or make it impossible to renew because it's pretty close in terms of vote, if they don't renew them, it's the equivalent of having a 4 times tax increase from what you have right now, and it'll destroy the economy. I never heard anybody campaign on a tax increase. It's about policy. It's not about her. I think she's incompetent because I've watched her. She destroyed California. She destroyed San Francisco. Everything she's touched has turned to bad things.
But now she's a nominee, no Democrat primary votes. She ranked dead last, getting just 1% of primary Democrat voters in 2020.
Well, remember, the media elected or helped elect President Biden, who campaigned from his basement. They covered up for him for over 3 years to the point when they couldn't cover up for him anymore. It was impossible to hide the fact that his policies, his agenda, his ideology, their ideology, has literally put America on a path of destruction. The open borders, a clear and present danger to this country, 40-year high inflation, which is the reason your dollar is now only worth 83 cents, and we put home ownership, the American dream, out of the reach of so many people, particularly young people. The war on fossil fuel further driving up prices, the weakness that has emboldened our enemies around the world, set the world in flames. Kamala Harris will support all these exact same policies. They couldn't cover up for President Biden anymore. They got a pretty good feel that they could keep her under wraps for 90 days and slot her into the presidency. I hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, the majority of voters and most of the majority of polls say the U.S. is on the wrong track under Biden and Harris. I mean, Tim Walz, picking Tim Walz as her running mate, big problems. Critics looking at his record showing he's to the left of Bernie Sanders, a big government socialist. But this is a big deal. Roll Call, Senator, is now reporting that Wall Street and financial firms and banks around the nation are warning workers they cannot donate to Kamala Harris because that would break federal pay-to-play securities laws. It would be a huge conflict of interest because Governor Walz is the chairman of the Minnesota State Board of Investment that governs state pension funds and university endowments and the like. And if they're saying if you contribute that, we're going to be breaking federal law. So this campaign about to hit a wall here, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Well, that's a little bit of a problem for the Democrats. But the advantage they have is they've got the media and social media companies that are completely in the tank for them. And those are powerful interests. I mean, they'll continue to cover up for them. They'll continue to do everything they can to denigrate President Trump and J.D. Vance. So that's a very powerful thing that you're up against when you're running as a Republican against a Democrat that the media loves.
Okay, Senator Johnson, great analysis from you. Thanks for joining us.